What's up, everybody, and welcome to Heresy Financial. This is the channel where we talk about financial education and news and topics in a way that is considered heresy to the financial establishment. Normally, the Federal Reserve is looked at by mainstream financial news as number one, a savior. They're usually looked at as somebody who comes in and rescues the economy. Number two, they're looked at as elite financial gurus. They're always talking about the indicators and the numbers and the statistics and the data that's coming out on the economy that they're gathering, and their response to all of those numbers are considered wise, correct, and infallible sometimes. The markets typically respond to single words and phrases that the Federal Reserve puts out in their statements. In fact, a lot of times the market will move in anticipation of what the Federal Reserve is going to say, not even what they're going to do. What we're going to be discussing today is how the Federal Reserve is actually undermining our economy right now, and especially our future economy, and the mechanics of how they're actually doing that and why it is going to be harmful for us long term. Let's dive in. All right, guys, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for watching and checking this video out. Please like and subscribe if you do enjoy the content. Today, we're looking at the Federal Reserve and how it's undermining our future economy. In order to show how the Federal Reserve's actions are undermining our economy, we need to look at what money is. And money, just like anything else, is, it can be looked at as a commodity. There is a price to money, just like there's a price to any other product, good, or service there is in an economy. Now, most people do not think of money in terms of commodity or product, especially if they've never done a lot of international travel. But those of you who might have done a lot of international travel, when you're exchanging currencies as you travel from country to country, it might start to set in a little bit that money is simply something that people will, exchange just like other goods and services. And so we have to look at the fact that money actually has a price, just like anything else has a price. Now, this price is usually called an interest rate. And so when you hear about the Federal Reserve setting the interest rate, that is the long-term future value of money, the US dollar. Now, before I move any further, I want you to be aware that this is a very simplified and distilled explanation of money and interest rates and future value. I'm not going to get into the technical mechanics of this. This is kind of a boiled down framework so that you can understand what's really going on, because the Federal Reserve and economists and even financial advisors will always use large words, complicated sentences, things they learned in finance school and business class, just to confuse the average person, because most of these people don't want the average person to know what's actually going on, because then you could make educated decisions about how to prepare yourself financially. And God forbid people are able to make educated decisions about what to do financially, because if everybody did that, well, they would bring upon themselves right now the collapse that the Federal Reserve is trying to postpone as long as possible. Because if people started to prepare, then it would kind of bring it forward from the future into the present if people knew what was happening. So just to let you know, this is a boiled down version. It's not going to be extremely precise, but it will communicate to you what is actually happening. So just like anything, there is a price to money. When you look at prices, for the most part in a free economy, prices are set by supply and demand. So I love to use the example of a gas station. When you're in the city and there's a gas station on every corner, those gas prices are going to be pretty close to each other, and they're going to be kind of as low as they can go. One gas station on this corner might lower their gas by 1 cent or 2 cents, and then the gas station on the other corner might do the same thing or undercut by a cent. So eventually you're going to get to a place where there's very little profit margin, if any, on just the gas. And so those prices are going to be as low as possible when there's steep competition. But as we've all experienced when you go on a road trip and there's one gas station in the middle of the interstate with nothing 100 miles either way, that gas station is going to have gas prices jacked way up because there's no competition, so they are the only ones determining the price out there, and they know people have to get gas, and so really people don't have any choice but to buy the gas there, and so they can set the price at whatever they want. This is a classic example of supply and demand. In the city there's a lot of supply, and so that drives the price down in order to compensate for the amount of demand. There's not enough demand for each gas station to be able to jack their prices way up. They're just going to go to somewhere else because the supply is so high. Well, when you are on the interstate and there's just that one gas station, the supply is really low, and so all the demand goes to that one gas station because the supply is so low, and so the price is high. This makes sense when you're looking at products. So how does this apply to money? Well, if money is worth a lot in terms of comparing money versus the economy, people are going to store that money. You're going to hold that money because it's worth a lot to you, especially if it is growing in its worth or its value. You're going to hold on to money. And when money is growing in value and in worth, what that looks like is prices coming down of goods and services because they're measured in terms of money, their prices. And so when values of commodities or prices of commodities and products and services are getting cheaper, then people will prefer to hold on to their money longer, because if they wait longer, then they'll be able to afford that thing later at a cheaper cost. This is evident in technology. A lot of times, especially right now, it's in October, you might need a new TV, or you might need a new phone or camera, or some electronic computer, tablet, whatever it is. And you might be looking at the calendar right now and thinking, hey, if I can hold off just about one more month, I can wait till Black Friday because things are going to be cheaper. So I'm going to hold on to my money, my $500, instead of spending it today, because it's going to go further in a month if I wait, because things are going to be cheaper. But let's say it's your cell phone that broke and you can't actually wait because it's completely broken and it's not usable. Well, you're going to have to spend the money now, and you're not going to be able to just wait until it gets cheaper. And this works long-term too, because long-term technology costs continue to decline at a fairly rapid pace compared to other things. And so at some point, you're not going to wait, another year for the next iPhone to come out. You're not going to wait another year for the next tablet or computer to come out. Or even TVs, you're not going to wait, 3 years for the price of OLED TVs to come down. You might just spring for an LCD or an LED TV right now. And so at some point, the products or services are going to rise in value compared to the future value of what your money's worth. And because at some point that need is going to take over. So as a side note, when you hear economists talk about the boogeyman of deflation, they're talking about, hey, if things just get cheaper over the long term, nobody's ever going to just buy anything. Everybody's just going to wait, and then we're not going to have an economy because nobody's spending any money. Well, that's garbage. That's bogus. Obviously, people are going to spend money. You still have to buy necessities. They're just going to hold off a little bit longer on things that they don't need. But eventually, that future value of money, how far it'll go in the future, will not be worth as much to hold on to it as the need is to buy something today. So if your phone breaks, you're going to buy a phone. You're not going to wait till Black Friday. Okay, and so the interest rate that is set on money allows you to get paid interest in your bank account when you hold on to money. Now, as interest rates are low, that means the future value of money is considered fairly low. It's not going to make me any money sitting in my checking account or my savings account. So might as well spend it, because it's not going to be going further in the future on the general goods and services as it does right now. It'll actually go farther right now than it will in 5 years. So in an inflationary environment, it encourages spending over saving. So when interest rates get really low, that means that your money is worth a lot less in the future than it is right now. What that would stimulate is excess debt, because might as well take out debt to purchase something right now, because as time goes on, it'll be easier to pay that debt off because money is getting cheaper while goods and services are getting more expensive. So might as well borrow from future spending and then pay that back over time, because it's cheaper. I'll end up being able to be further ahead if I do that in an environment where money becomes worth less over time. Now, this can only go so far because individuals and institutions have a maximum on the amount of debt that they can have, because eventually they're going to have to pay that debt back. And so in a normal business cycle, you're going to have ups and downs where there's excess spending, and then the economy overall is going to be maxed out. And then there'll be a decrease in spending because that debt, all the spending that they did has to kind of be paid off. And so there's going to be a paying back, to the economy from the past spending. And so that spending is going to decline. And then when that happens, that means eventually then things will reverse and then money will become more valuable again. And so there's going to be a kind of a give and take over a long period of time over these cycles where money becomes more valuable and less valuable. Well, over the last 10 years, the Federal Reserve has kept interest rates extremely low. This has kept money very cheap, made debt very cheap. That means we're in an inflationary environment, and it is better to spend money now, especially with debt, because I can pay it off in the future with money that's worth less than the money that I borrowed in the first place. And so it's easier to pay off that debt. And now we are getting to the end of that credit cycle because we are kind of maxed out as an economy. Corporate debt is at an all-time high. Consumer debt is at an all-time high, regardless of which angle you look at it. What kind of debt? Student loans, auto loans, mortgages, credit card debt. Most individuals are, kind of maxed out on the amount of debt that they have. Corporations are too. And so we're at the end of this credit cycle. But the Federal Reserve doesn't want the credit cycle to turn over, because if money becomes more expensive and more valuable, that means that the interest rate goes up. That means that spending becomes more difficult. The government cannot pull back on its spending though. And so the Federal Reserve has to keep spending easy so that the government can continue spending as much as it wants. And so what we're seeing right now is an environment where the value or the future price of money should be going up in response to the market, but the Federal Reserve is basically imposing price controls on money. And it's flooding the economy with new money by purchasing treasuries and funding government deficit spending, and it's keeping interest rates incredibly low in order to keep spending easy. And this is where the real problem comes in, because the Federal Reserve has to keep on pumping new money into the system. They're going to be increasing the amount of money, the supply of money. So that keeps money cheap. That keeps spending easy. They have to do this because of government spending. But we're already at the end of a credit cycle. That means our economy is maxed out on the growth that it can have from easy money. That means the economy is in this phase where it is trying to make money more valuable. What that's going to lead to is prices actually going up without the growth because of the influx of new cash. This is called stagflation. With stagflation, you see an increase in the supply of money without economic growth, because over the last 10 years, we've seen growth because of the cheap money and the cheap spending and the easy debt. Corporations and individuals have been able to use that to spend more. But as a society, as an economy, we're already at the max. And so we are already contracting from all of that spending to pay back what we've done. But the Federal Reserve has no choice but to continue spending money and expanding its balance sheet. And this is going to cause stagflation. That means prices of goods and services are going to go up while we don't actually have any growth. And so that is how the Federal Reserve has been basically stealing future growth by artificially keeping the value of money low, because we're in the cycle where it should be going up during the contraction. And so we're entering into this recession on the heels of the end of a credit cycle as money is still being kept cheap. This is basically just price controls on money, and price controls never end up well. And so next time you hear the Federal Reserve or economists on TV talk about how inflation is really low and the Federal Reserve needs to get inflation higher, don't believe it. It's all just propaganda. They're doing this just to allow the government to continue this massive record-setting deficit spending. So hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please like, subscribe, and share. Let me know if you have any questions or comments in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. You guys have a great day. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the content. I try and put out as much content as I can, especially whenever there is something new happening in the market. Please like and subscribe. And if you want more, if you need a step-by-step plan in order to prepare for the coming financial crash. I did write a book. It is on Amazon. You can buy the Kindle version or the paperback. It's called Financial Heresy. You can also find it on my website at heresy.financial, but it's easiest if you just go to Amazon. You can again get the Kindle or the paperback. It's called Financial Heresy. Thank you so much again for watching. Please like and subscribe and share. You guys have a great day.